Okay, now let's take this same mixture that we made in the first video and show you how to make a customized cigarette with an easy roller rolling machine. Now, you know, I say this every time. There's lots of these machines available. This seemed to be the most economical one. I'm not putting in a plug for this machine, but it does seem to work well for me. There is one thing that you want to be careful of, and that is that there's two versions of this machine out there. And you'll notice here there's a speed dial on the machine, so you can make the machine run faster or slower, and on this machine there's not. The lower machine works better. It costs a little more money, but not that much more. If you listen to the machine, you'll hear the different speed. Okay, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a difference. This knob controls the tension of this bar. The bar holds up against the bottom of this tube, and it impairs the cigarette tube from sliding off, so that the more pressure, the slower the paper slides off and the more compacted it is. And if you get it too compacted, it's difficult to smoke, etc. I've got it set down here on 2. That's where it works well for me. You push that down by pushing here, but that's not how I do it. That's how they made it to be done, and I'm going to show you just exactly how I roll cigarettes. The other thing that I want you to remember here that's important is I'm trying to discourage you from rolling a lot of cigarettes ahead so that you have a whole day's or a whole week's worth of cigarettes rolled. I want you to roll a cigarette each time, or inject, create a cigarette, however you want to say it, but I want you to do it each time that you decide you're going to have a cigarette, so that you're making that conscious decision. Whereas if you have a bunch of cigarettes rolled ahead, then you just reach into your package and have a cigarette like you do with your regular smoking, and it doesn't slow down your smoking at all. And that's one of the things we're trying to do, is to slow it down without causing you a lot of problems and without causing any withdrawal. This is just an extension of the hopper so that we can put a little bit more of our mixture in there, and that's what we've done. Now we're taking our bag and we're going to empty, pardon my arm being in the way, a little bit of the mixture into the hopper. That's all there is to it. And the reason that I started using this electric machine in the first place is I had a friend who was smoking too much, and he had a debilitating disease that bothered the nerves and the strength in his hands, and he couldn't roll with the silver tip or any other type of machine, and he was too independent to let other people do the rolling for him. So we got him this machine, and it just worked wonderful. Now I'm going to push this bar down with my finger here. Then I'm taking the cigarette tube and I'm sliding it on the tube here all the way and letting that off so there's pressure on it. Now I'm going to push the power button over here. The speed and everything else is already set. This is going to cause the auger to turn, which forces the mixture into the tube, and there's a completed cigarette. The advantage of using the machine is that you can do a lot of cigarettes very quickly, and that you can do the king size cigarettes, which are very hard to do with the hand rolling machine. I'm going to change, not king size, the 100s. I'm going to change to the 100s here, and all I do is push it on, push the button, and I like to quit before the cigarette comes all the way to the end, and then I fold it over just a little bit so that you don't lose tobacco out the end of the cigarette. There's a little machine made for closing up the cigarettes, and I don't think that they're worth the effort to do that. Now, you don't even really need to do that if, and I just slide it on, you store your cigarettes in your package upside down. Then the tobacco and Moringa mixture is not going to fall out of the cigarette. You'll notice when I go to push the bar down, the first thing I do is with this finger I wipe off the end of that tube. It allows you to push the cigarette tube on there with no interference. Then when I'm pushing this button, I'm using this finger to stir the material and keep it pushed down to the auger. And there's nothing to it. You can sit here and hammer out a package of cigarettes in about 3 minutes. But again, unless you're going on a long trip or you're going to be driving a car and you can't roll a cigarette while you're going down the road, you don't want to be using the machine. It's the lazy man's way. It keeps you from having to make the decision and take the trouble to roll a cigarette before you have one. It just makes them too available. But that is how it's done. There's nothing to it. At the end, you just wipe things off, throw them away, put this back out of the way, and you're done.